Good morning from Melbourne, and welcome to the Fyber CFO Network. This is the first episode towards a series of podcasts where we'll be interviewing the great CFOs and other business leaders from around the world who will be sharing their life experiences and their views on how the world of finance and the cyber world has created a new Fyber age. So today, my guest is a multi-talented guy who not only understands the intricacies of poetry and English literature, but he has also mastered the complexities of investment banking and finance. He is someone who can play very well a role in a Shakespearean play on the stage, and he also knows how to perform very well and grab attention of his audience in a high-profile board meeting. Noor, the CFO and the CIO of Altalk Group, please join me in welcoming him here in our first episode. So we have spent almost half of our life together. We have known each other for the last more than 2 decades now. And looking at your profile and your achievements and what you have done in your life, I don't have the courage and the stamina and the memory in my mind to narrate all that you have done, right? So I'll just leave it to you. You just tell us, take us through your journey in your career and let us know what you have done, how far you have come along the way, and what your achievements are.
Sure. Thank you, Mazum, for having me on your show. It's been a standard journey of any chartered accountant. I did my undergrad as well as graduation from a premier business college actually in Karachi. After that, I enrolled into the chartered accountancy profession. I got interviewed at PwC, EY, and KPMG, or as they were known with their local names back in Karachi in those times. Got admitted into or got offered to join all those 3 big firms. I chose PwC, spent 4 years with them, qualified, did all my papers, qualified as a chartered accountant, and the first job that came my way was actually in Saudi Arabia, and I just flew into Riyadh, and 18 years later I'm still in Saudi Arabia, although I've changed a few jobs. My first job was with a French bank, then I moved on to become the CFO for Morgan Stanley, and for the past 18 years I've been working again in Saudi Arabia for a Saudi single family office. So pretty uneventful journey of any chartered accountant in terms of just moving up the value chain or the ladder. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I want to take you back 20 years in our life when we started our career with PwC back in Karachi. And if you remember, and I'm sure you do remember and appreciate the time where we were, you would see all the audit trainees carrying around all of those big green and pink files with HL122 calculator, and life was so manual at that time, right? So, and people would be, people from the finance profession, they would be evaluated by their ability to memorize the section numbers of corporate law and taxation law, and also, the references of international accounting standards. So that was the measuring criteria of the ability of a person who actually wants to succeed in the profession of finance. So how have you seen the profession changing from that stage to where it is right now?
You've put up this question beautifully, but what you have actually done unwittingly is you've given away our age, because those were prehistoric times, and to bring up those times, those memories back on camera. So we've been in the profession long enough. But then again, the profession of accountancy has been around for centuries. And clearly, if accountancy is still relevant, then clearly it has evolved to adapt to the requirements of time. So yes, 20 years back, it was a very different world of accountancy, but nonetheless, I think the good thing about accountancy as a profession is that it has adapted, it has evolved, it has transformed, it has kept up with the pace of change in business and elsewhere. within accountancy, I think one of the challenges has been on the auditing side, where I think it's a slightly lagged behind, and the perception in the market, the perception of the people is that accountancy probably needs to pull up their socks and do a better job at what they do. But on the accounting side, I think the convergence project, the standardization of accounting standards, the simplification of accounting standards, more clarity on treatment on accounting matters. I think accountancy has come a long way in that sense. And talking about those HL 122 calculators and the manual ledgers and whatnot that we managed, I think with the implementation of ERP systems in the past couple of decades, accountancy has gone into a next frontier altogether. Yes.
Right. Now, technology is the new buzzword right now, right? So in any profession, it is shaping up the dynamics of not only the business, but also the profession. I mean, you look at Uber, you look at Airbnb, you look at Netflix and the likes of them. You look at the way the technology has evolved from doing or managing the supply chain of business in a manual and physical way to completely in a virtual way. So what is the relevance of all of these digital transformations, not only from business perspectives, but also in terms of shaping up the new era and the new age of finance and the talent pool?
I think this is a question that I should be putting up to you, because you are, I think, the subject matter expert and the thought leader on the digital transformation side, and I've seen it up front and close, that you've done a tremendous job at least your previous two employers, if not three. But my take on digital transformation is that at a very base level, it has always been about when it came about as a buzzword, that it was all about let's just go paperless. And that's what digital transformation is to many people, that if we go paperless in our offices, that is digital transformation. I wouldn't shoot down that definition, and to a large extent that is the case. But then came the new wave where going up into the cloud was being considered as digital transformation. So somewhere between going paperless and going up in the cloud is where digital transformation remains as a definition for most people. And that's absolutely fine. But what I think, and forgive me if I throw out quite a few buzzwords and jargons, and while I might not be a subject matter expert on those, but now in today's world or in the years to come, digital transformation is not just about being in the cloud. It's about big data, it's about IoT, it's about machines talking to machines, it's about cryptos, it's about blockchain. Now, while some of these things might be more business oriented rather than finance oriented, but finance permeates across the breadth of different business functions, and I would think that blockchain, crypto, machine to machine conversations, these all at some point in time fall under the umbrella of finance, and this is where digital transformation is heading towards. And we as finance professionals need to not just talk about it, but walk the talk in terms of trying to embrace these new technologies in our processes, in our businesses, in our operations. And this is what the digital transformation and innovation is all about, which the likes of the examples that you gave, Uber, Netflix, Airbnb, etc., they've already embraced, and they've already done this very successfully. So businesses of today who might think that IoT or machine learning or AI or virtual reality are just buzzwords, or blockchain is something which is exotic, that's not going to be the case a few years down the road. So let's be ahead of the curve in terms of we as finance professionals embracing digital transformation, understanding that it's no longer just about becoming cashless or in the cloud or paperless. It's about just embracing the new frontier of technology.
You're absolutely right, and I think just to top it up, the discussion that you just had, I think the finance talent pool also needs to realize that the conventional and the old school way of learning accounting and progressing in the career is no longer going to be relevant if you really want to be successful.
Yes, spot on. Yeah.
So I think that's a good piece of advice for the people who are new to the profession and who have got a long way ahead of them in terms of their career success. So thanks a lot for that answer. Now, I wanted to touch upon one more important subject right now. I mean, me and you, we have lived and we have worked a long time in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, and what we have seen is that in the last couple of years, the economy is kind of, is shifting. So the entire dynamics of the business, which was largely oil-based, is now moving away from oil, and the local governments, they are trying to diversify, and they have their own economic challenges. Now, one of the ways to counter these economic challenges is obviously to reduce and scale down your fixed cost structure, right? Because in difficult economic times, there is very little room that you have to improve your revenue or to enhance your revenue. So the real name of the game is to contain your fixed cost. And one way to do it is to optimize your operations, to basically bring in more efficiency into your workforce, into the output and the efficiencies of their work. Productivity has to be increased, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, what do you think is the relevance of outsourcing of some transactional based jobs, especially within the finance function? What is the relevance of outsourcing in these economic times?
Outsourcing. Look, I'm receptive to the concept of outsourcing, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that there are many within our profession who would consider this as a taboo topic within their organizations. So I'm talking about our peers, our chief accountants, finance managers, CFOs, who might, or even management, might not be receptive to the concept, and they are kind of feel it's a taboo. Which is actually a shame, because they don't really understand the real benefits that outsourcing can provide. They're being naive in terms of thinking that they would like to contain the IP of the company, intellectual property and data, and they're looking at it just from a narrow mindset of confidentiality and keeping everything under one roof. But there are quite a few amongst our profession, amongst our fraternity, who do understand the value or the benefit or the upside that outsourcing brings. But even those people, what I have seen are just focusing on the non-core aspects of their businesses. I personally don't think any aspect of a business could be non-core. It could be on the periphery, and you could, but again, let's not go into the semantics of the definition of core, non-core, but HR, admin, or certain finance functions within the finance department or organization might be considered as more ripe for easy outsourcing or outside contracting. I wouldn't fight that, but I would think that CFOs who are more open and receptive and have seen the world or operate multinational or global companies should realize the fact that it's not hollow talk when we say we live in a global village. When we live in a global village, we operate in a global village, we have to look at every function within our organization from efficiency and effectiveness perspective. So outsourcing does not have to be just about non-core back office related functions. You just need to find that right balance, right mix, and anything can be outsourced as long as it can be done efficiently and effectively elsewhere. And I think the thing that we need to keep in mind as finance professionals is it's just about lining the ducks in a row. As long as the KPIs are understood, as long as the contract is documented properly, as long as the communication protocols between the person who's outsourcing and the one who's managing it on an outsourced basis is managing the process well, I would think anything and everything is up for outsourcing. We have companies, and you've made those mentions about Airbnbs and Ubers of the world, who don't have the assets for which they are making money on. They don't own those cars, they don't own those hotel rooms, and so in a way they've outsourced it. So in a global economy, in this world 2.0 that we live in, outsourcing should not be looked at from that narrow perspective of just shunning certain laborious tasks. It's just about looking at your business holistically, trying to understand what can be outsourced effectively and efficiently, and just get on with it. Outsourcing is no longer taboo, or should no longer be taboo as well. Yeah.
Completely agree with you. I think it's in my personal view, I think in future it's going to be a combination of outsourcing and automation. So that'll how our professional and the business world will shape up. So absolutely right. Now I'm going to shift gears here a little bit, and I wanted to ask you that the CFO of yesterday is not what CFO of tomorrow is going to be. So how do you see the role of the CFO? You've been a very successful CFO for the past 1 decade or so. So how do you see the role of the CFO evolving in the next 5 years?
Mozam, I don't have a crystal ball, but there's still
You've got a lot of experience.
I'll take a punt on this. I don't know where the CFOs will be 5 years down the road, but what I have seen in the past 5 years or 10 years is that the CFOs have not really stepped up to the plate, because the challenge has been that CFOs are put on that high pedestal and then they fail to deliver. I might be wrong, it might just be an individual rant, but I think that almost a decade back, the title that was given to us or handed to us, and probably on a platter, was that we are co-pilots. And what did we do with that title? Did we really become co-pilots? I think, on the contrary, we as CFOs just presumed that the title co-pilots meant that we are just like a spare tire that can be used or required in terms of emergency, need to be brought out once in a while, or we were just kind of playing second fiddle to the CEO. So in any case, if he is distracted or deceased or diseased or I don't know, elsewhere, that we step in his shoes and manage the operations for a while. And so the co-pilot tag or title that was handed out to us, we haven't really lived up to that billing. So now today, what I'm seeing is the industry is generous enough to again provide us a new label. Will we be receptive to that, embrace that in the next 5 years? Only time will tell. But what is that new label? The new label, I think, is we have been invited to the strategy table.
Yep.
We are being deemed as people who can drive the strategy. And when I say strategy, my definition of strategy is where to play and how to win. And the CFOs of today are being asked this question. Help the board, help the management determine where to play and how to win. And where to play means product, sector, geography, where to invest, that part, and how to win. The numbers are there, but are we efficient? Are we profitable? Those kind of questions the CFOs are being asked, and we are being given a chair at the strategy table. So in the next 5 years, to answer your question, it's up to us. Do we become the strategists that we are being expected to raise our level to that, or raise the bar has been raised, but can we raise to that level? Or are we just going to scale back and just become or remain ticking the box in terms of being just compliance operators, managing the tax and zakat returns, and just doing the quarterly and audit financials? So it's up to us. We can become the co-strategists or the co-pilots, or we can just remain in our comfy position as being the number crunchers. So the jury is still out, who knows, but let's see.
What a pleasure talking to you this morning, Ashar. Thanks a lot for
my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.